Hey, I'm Alicia, your non-monogamous relationship coach. Welcome to Nope, We're Not Monogamous, where we're diving headfirst into the world of BDSM and kink with my incredible friend Still. He's a seasoned kink community organizer and the co-host of South Seattle's Tasty Kink Night. So imagine a place where open communication, trust, and safety are at the core of every connection, no matter if it's in the realm of polyamory, swinging, or kink. Still and I are exploring how these relationship dynamics like intertwine and why language and shared values are essential in alternative communities, and how consent becomes both an art and a foundation in creating meaningful experiences. So, Still's bringing over a decade of experience and lots of insight, sharing powerful tools for navigating boundaries and how to manage jealousy while also highlighting the growth and freedom that come from embracing unique relationship styles. So, whether you're new to kink, curious about non monogamy, or you're a seasoned player, this episode is packed full of practical wisdom and fresh perspectives. So get comfortable, maybe even take some notes, and join us as we unpack the fascinating intersections of kink, polyamory, and non monogamous dating with Still. Oh, I want to give a quick shout out to our newest friends with benefits. Charlotte, I adore you, friend. Dawn, you're a doll. Melissa, thank you for the support. These folks are the best. And they went to patreon.com/notmonogamous so that they could show us some love, hear me say their names, and get the juicy tidbits that I drop in there. So patreon.com/notmonogamous, you can become a supporter of the show, a friend with benefits, or even one of our lovers. Thanks. Enjoy. Can you explain what a play partner is?
Right. Um, so I would say that a play partner, in its best understood term, is almost like a comment partner in many ways, in that they are someone who you have an established dynamic with. Usually, like they're not a pickup partner or a pickup scene partner. They
Mhm.
are a play partner that you have a longer term dynamic with, but isn't critical to your long term life as a person. And they are someone who, okay, you may still grow with them and they may change and they may evolve. It's not my place to say that what a play partner is defined, but
Sure.
at that moment in time, in the present, they are someone that you have a relationship with, but you don't have an extended goal in mind. Where it's like, I like to play with you in this way or that way. You're a fantastic pony, and I want to do your pony stuff. Sorry, I shouting out a pony person because that is just I said I would. Um,
I love that so much.
yeah.
That's amazing. Wait,
Yeah.
so what's a pickup partner then? Or a pickup
So
person or a pickup what did you say? Play?
pick up
Pickup play?
play. Pick up play is like, okay, I don't know you. You are straight up. I have no idea who you are, but you look cute. And so it's like, all right, cool. I would like to do X with you. This is the stuff we would like to do, either then or within a few weeks, usually. Oh, cool. I'm free here. Let's go play. And we do that. And that's just a pickup play. And that's usually a very fast negotiation. You don't have a long term relationship with that person. And you don't have no intent of doing anything after that because they don't know you and they don't know how you play and maybe they don't like the stuff you do or maybe they really do but you don't, it's not. Yeah, and so pickup play is kind of the analogous to like the swinger single night stand kind of thing, in
Mhm,
a lot of
mhm.
ways.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
and like the way that queer and kinky people talk about and ritualize sex and relationships, like I think that has value and I think that that's a great place for cross pollination anyway. Like
Absolutely.
penis and vagina sex can still be improved by having like pre-game negotiation and consideration and like check-in procedures and safety protocols and aftercare. Like, us hooking up, you should still have a sense of how it's going to go, how the story is going to be told, right?
Yeah,
Like how do you reset and return afterwards?
yeah.
And so like that for me that's kind of a important thing to bring to the table.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I talk a lot about people having like a stars talk or a sexual safety
Mhm.
talk, and there's so much overlap there of like, what are
Mhm.
our expectations? What are our boundaries? What's a yes?
Yeah,
What's a no?
right? Like,
Yeah.
and also, especially if you are cycling through people, right? Like, oh, you're dating someone else, right? The second person you're dating, they did something that you didn't like, and so you're sensitive in that area. Like having that ritual of like, how do you begin that thing rather than expecting them to be okay with whatever you're doing? Like, oh no, 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 let's just do a quick check-in before that. It's like, hey, cool. At my last date, he touched my foot, didn't like it, don't want to have my foot touched. Cool. Now I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
this
yeah.
is just like how do you navigate and manage the sensitivities of people and their interests.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so like and that has nothing to do with like how we actually do the act. It's all about how do we manage the dynamic.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. How do
Yeah.
we how do we care for people, really, is kind of what it
Mhm.
all boils down to.
100%. Yeah.
How do we care for people regardless of what we're doing with them?
Right. And that's, you know, for me that's kind of like uh, you know, the kink umbrella, right? Like it's this huge wide thing. It can be almost anything, right? It's basically everything that requires you to have informed consent to do, but you can't get arrested for it because it's sex. Like that's all of kink.
Okay.
And so all of those actions that you're doing, kinky sex being the actual sex part, but like all of those things that you're doing, the care and the way that we think about the dynamic and the way that you manage all of those expectations is the thing that needs to be done. And so, in a relationship sense, how do you manage? How do you rupture and then retain? And then how do you all of these flows? You kind of have to be conscious of it and you have to have a language for it and you have to be able to craft it in the way that you want to be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, creating intentional relationships.
Exactly.
There's so much freaking overlap. It's so funny because, like,
Yep.
I I always say I like where kink and, swinging and
Hmm.
polyamory, like,
Hmm.
the where they overlap
Yeah.
because so much, there's just so many good things there, but
Mhm.
it's like, like, swingers also have play partners, and maybe they're not doing
Mhm.
kinky BDSM things,
No.
but it's like someone that they hook up with every once in a while.
Yeah.
Uh
It is super important to have that, and that's like, so one of the places that I really wanna shout out is the Center for Sex Positive Culture, because they were
Yes.
kind of a big tent organization, when I came down, to be like, "Oh, hey, we're going to have a place for all people, gay, straight, lesbian, trans, swinging, kink, all of those people." And so I actually did a lot of interesting discoveries at one of their tasting events back at their old Interbay location. And so
Mhm.
like that was kind of one of the things of like, oh shoot, that's something that we should bring back as a goal event. And so that's kind of one of the reasons for the last 15-ish months I've been running the event.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important because I think a lot of people kind of get it's like they have this idea of what they might like, but if they
Hmm.
don't have an opportunity to try it or even get close to it, then
Hmm.
it's just this, like, fantasy that doesn't have any
Hmm.
it's not based in reality, and, like, there's so often we think we might like something, and then we try it, and we're like, "Ooh, actually, no."
Yeah,
Or we
like
try it, we're like, "Oh my god, give me more of that."
right. Does this become my steady diet, or is this something that I licked it, don't want to have it? That's the taste thing. I think the line is the customer is always right in the matter of taste. Guess
Uh-huh.
what? You are your own customer, and you have to be able to like. You are always right, and it's not my place to say you're wrong. I just want you to try stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And and also it it might need to be cooked by a different chef.
Yes, absolutely. Experience is very useful, especially when you're doing some of the more edgy play.
Mhm.
It's good. Like there are safety boundaries, and another part of the things that I do is that I kind of demonstrate this is the safe way to do this stuff because I'm doing this in public, right? It's a free event. It's
Yeah.
volunteer run. What we are doing is not the coolest stuff you've ever seen. It is the safest way to do it when you don't know everything and you can't control for everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going at a 4, right, out of 10.
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to go to 11. So, like, it's not about it's not about having the greatest event ever, it's about having a good community that a cool event sometimes happens at. and like that's the core goal of the thing that I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, uh, what was it you just said about a 4 or a 10?
So imagine a pain scale when you go to a doctor.
Okay.
Like, so, if I am giving pain or receiving pain, like
Uh-huh.
that's just a quick way of saying, okay, cool. Or a stoplight system, like a green and yellow or red, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I'm edging in that like yellow zone, that easy peasy four, because and also a lot of the times there are two things that I do. It's one, I'm a co-host, which means I'm a social butterfly. Everyone gets the same spiel because then everyone has heard the spiel, right? Like these are the safety things, these are the things that are going, these are what monitors look like, etc. But then also some of the times it's like I'm a swing coach, I'm like a club pro. It's like, okay, cool, here's how you do something, and it's going to be slow, it will be smooth, and then it will be fast, because your goal is to do it safely for yourself so that you can do it safely on others.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I want to learn how to swing a flogger, I want to learn how to touch a whip. Like all of these very like I'm not I'm not reinventing the wheel, and I'm not going to be putting you in a Ferrari. I just want you to do it safely.
Yeah. 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 Amazing. Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. The other day, my husband was like rubbing my shoulders because I was
Mhm.
sore and he starts digging in and I was like, "Oh, I
Oh,
need you to go 15% lighter." And he was
yeah.
like, "Wow, that's," and he did. And he was like, "That
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
really specific." And I was like, "Well,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, like that's how
Yeah,
I got what I wanted. I was really
yeah.
specific."
And it's about that dynamic and relationship and that shorthand that you have with your husband, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like you've developed that and you know how to talk to each other and you know how to communicate, okay, I know my pain scale and I know
Uh-huh.
my toughness of my muscles. And so I just need you to like that, but just a little bit less pressure. The
Yeah.
PSI, we bring out the like calipers or whatever, and you have an actual word for it. But like 15% between you and your husband, perfect.
Right? Measuring PSI.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get Newtonian in this. Let's go.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like that's the thing, is like that could be massage can be kinky, right? Like it can
Yeah.
be kinky. It can be I need you to massage me before we do anything else as foreplay, right? Like that is
I'll
a
tell you,
necessity.
most of my kinks would not be things that people would consider like BDSM, but they're
Mhm.
like, they're sensation play, they're soft
Mhm.
touches, tickles,
Mhm.
massages, right? Like
Yeah.
they're all kinky, but they're
Yeah.
not what people in the world in the larger world would consider to be kinky.
And also, you can't just go to a massage therapist and say, "Hey, I want you to massage me but sexy."
Right. No, that's illegal.
That's illegal, like so that's the thing. It's like, yes, for you, it's not just that the action is, whether or not it's tame, it's also the dynamic you put into it is not a tame dynamic,
Yeah.
right? Like it gets your engine going, right? Like,
Right.
and that's why when you think about kink, that rhymed, it's like it hinges on this dual idea of action and purpose, right? Like the
Mhm.
dynamic where
Mhm.
like top and bottom can define the active giver and receiver, but dominant and submissive defines the person who's in control of the situation. And so you can get your shoes cleaned of mud for non kinky reasons, but maybe you're getting cleaned because you're a superior officer, or maybe you're a pretty little pony named Butt Butt. Like these are all the possibilities that your dynamic you introduce to the situation creates the meaning and purpose for inside yourself and inside the relationship.
Yeah. Okay, can you because I was asked this recently actually,
Hmm.
the difference, between top and bottom and, dominant and submissive? Because
So,
you just touched on that, but I'm curious if you could give me more on that.
yeah, absolutely. So top and bottom usually comes from gay culture. It's presumed to be the top would be the person who is penetrating the bottom, right?
Right.
But then you kind of grow the meaning kind of grows from there. And then, for example, if I was the person that was spanking the person, I would be the top of the spanking, and the bottom would be the bottom who is being spanked.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
again, if I'm the reason I'm spanking them is because they're the dominant who is asking to be spanked, then I am a quote unquote service top, a submissive top, right? And so there's dynamic is actually critical to understand why people like doing this. Because
Uh-huh.
again, that's the requirement of informed consent. That is the requirement to be clued into why this is occurring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
rude to do that otherwise.
So like who is this for? Who's getting the pleasure? I mean, it can be both of us getting the pleasure, but like what
Right, right,
is
right.
the
Yeah.
who is this really for?
Yeah. Are do you want to be wearing pony gear or do you want to be wearing military gear? Like that is and it doesn't even have to be physical gear, it can all be mind. It can
Right.
all be in the mind. And
Right.
like the way you're being treated, like if someone is massaging you because get 'em sport, you're gonna kick the winning field goal is a completely separate massage than hey, my queen, I need you to feel these massages before the Persian Empire comes to visit you with gifts, right? Like
Right.
multitude of possibilities. I'm just making stuff up now,
Yeah, I love
but
it.
yeah,
I love it. That's amazing.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's all storytelling. I mean, the magic is the fact that all of these things exist. They're all material reality, right? We're just arranging them in the way that makes us happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. No, no, no. We're like everything that does exist has already existed. The novelty
Definitely.
is the fact that you are bringing something to the table. You have experience from before, you have desires in the future. What you are doing right now is just assembling reality to what your life should be.
Mhm.
And so this is a lot more like uh, mindset stuff, but you know,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but that is that right there is like kind of the big um kind of purpose I would
hmm
think or idea behind like are we
hmm
monogamous or non-monogamous because that's what's expected of us or because it's what
hmm
serves us?
hmm
Yeah.
yeah, like, and again, I'm not faulting anyone who wants to be in a monogamous relationship. That's their happiness. I know monogamous kinky people. Not a problem for me. Not a problem for them.
Yeah.
And so it's just you have to kind of be able to have a safe space to be aware. Do you want to open up? Do you want to experiment? Do you want to see who you are as a person?
Mhm.
And do you want to do solo polyamory? Do you want to do in a relationship polyamory? Do you want to build into a multi relationship household?
Right.
Do you want to buy land and grow a farm? People do that.
Yeah.
I support them. It's just you have to know who you are so that you can you have to start bottom up and body out where it's like first the change comes from within and then it grows into what you want to be.
Mhm. 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 Absolutely.
Mhm,
That makes me think of a question. I'm curious. You were talking about you mentioned kinky monogamous people, and
mhm,
I'm wondering if if monogamous people are
mhm,
going to like kink events,
mhm.
um, so this comes back to like the thing I'm always asking is like what actually is monogamy? Like everybody defines it
Yeah,
differently,
yeah, yeah.
right? Because you kind of like being non-monogamous and figuring out what people want, like
Mhm.
if you kind of have to know what the monogamy is for you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I'm wondering if people go to kink events that are monogamous, who are like sexually romantically monogamous with their partner,
Mhm.
but play in kinky ways with other people. Or
Mm.
would that not be monogamous?
Oh gosh. Well, okay, this is definitely one of those, like, Webster's dictionary defines monogamy as, where
Right?
it's like, for me, I personally think that uh, because it's important for you to play with other people, it is important for you to consider them as other people,
Yeah.
which means that it's a relationship.
Yeah.
Um, I can conceive of someone who doesn't care about the person that they're playing with, and
Sure.
therefore they never personally consider it to be breaching the sphere of monogamy.
Sure.
Uh, and of course, some people define it for very specific legal terms, health terms, relationship terms. That is monogamy to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely not an expert on this. I would say that monogamy is most likely inherited in the same way that someone's religion is. and the way
Mhm.
that someone's gender can be, their gender expression.
Mhm.
And then you kind of like turn around and all of a sudden there are people wearing rockabilly outfits and it's like, well, that's gender expression. And I recognize it, but so it's kind of the same thing. When you go to a kinky group, it's like, oh, that's a monogamous couple. And it's like, I recognize that. You're doing monogamy, but boy, that's a different way to do monogamy than I would normally be okay with.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's great. That's a
Yeah.
really good way to describe that.
Oh, yeah. No, I use the rockabilly gender expression in other contexts. So yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. 'Cause, like, that pinup hair, that sure is a lot of gender in a very, like, sticky amount of mess. Like, that hair took a lot of time, you really care, and I should respect that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Ah, amazing.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Uh, um, I lost my list. I
No, don't
found
worry
my
about it.
list.
We can come back to stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Du- 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 du.
So, okay, so one of the things I was really excited to talk to you about was how
Mhm,
people and this actually segues to it really well, was how
mhm,
people navigate having multiple partners
mhm,
at a an event, like a kink event,
mhm.
some sort of play party.
Mm.
Um, how do people negotiate that?
So, some of that is jealousy, right? Like, how do you negotiate the jealousy part?
Sure.
And, I'll touch back on that. I think that's something that deserves its own time. But some of that is scheduling. Like Google Calendar is lovely. I want to go to this event, and I want to give my time and devotion to the person that I want to go to that event to. And so some of that is the negotiation of like, I love you, you're wonderful. I am this person. I think some of the more hippie people in my life would say that that person is my Jupiter tonight. Like they are the biggest thing in the biggest mass. They're the sense of gravity to them. And so like you kind of just you have to pre-negotiate and understand the culture that you're walking into of like, oh, okay, cool. So at this party, I'm going to be doing things that are edgy, they are physically demanding. I'm going to be wearing I'm going to be a walking dish tray for people to eat off of, right? Like I'm going and so therefore the person I came with who is the cook adding, sushi onto my body, like
Uh-huh.
they're going to be the person I care the most about. And so the fact that I do have a play partner or a long-term relationship with you has to be negotiated down for this moment just because on whatever the escalator or elevator element that you have, it's like it has to transfer just for this time so that I can give the right amount of, passion and pleasure to the moment that I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like creating
Um,
a container.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. And you can't and also it's really important to be aware before you walk into the room what the container is. It's really important to do that. Trying
Yeah.
to, in the midst of a scene, renegotiate, is some of the messiest things I have ever seen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's kinda like sticking your fingers into acid and hoping that it changes. Just doesn't work, weirdly.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, so you kinda have to, "Hey, I really wish, we had a different situation. Maybe I need to remove myself and we will come back." Or, "Hey, I think they were physically not doing good things to you, and so I need to check in," and, like, all of that, right? Like,
Mhm.
there are 1,000 possibilities. I could invent them out of whole cloth right now, and it's
Right.
really important to be pre-aware of what's gonna happen and what you want to have so that your response to it isn't uncontained.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, that's very similar to
Mhm,
advice given to swingers, like
mhm.
pre-negotiate what your agreements are and what you're comfortable with before you
Mhm.
show up to an event,
Yeah,
and don't try changing your agreements in the middle of it when everybody's horny
in the
and
mid
not in their
yeah.
right minds.
Yeah, no, and some of these events are, whether or not there is alcohol allowed at your event. That is a boundary that people have to talk about and have to be aware of because if someone decided they're going to a place where people can drink, that is something that you have to be just pre-aware of the mindset that people will have in the midst of it.
Mm, yeah.
And like, are you okay with me hooking up with someone who has been drinking,
Right.
right? Like, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
It adds
and that's one of those.
another layer.
Oh, there's thousands of layers. The onion goes on forever. Um, yeah, and like, but I wanted to return back to the idea of jealousy, right? Which is
Yeah.
kind of the core element of a lot of these. Oh, shoot, this upset me, right?
Uh-huh.
For in a kink context, this is an analogy that I use is so if my partner wants to hire a birthday clown for
Okay.
their birthday party needs a birthday clown, they want to have a birthday clown at their birthday. That's the analogy I would like to use for I want to play with someone that you do not know or you do know but they do something that you don't, right?
Okay.
You did not want to be the birthday clown. That is not who you are, that is not what you want to do. You're not a bad person just because you weren't the birthday clown, and they don't think less of you because you didn't decide to be the birthday clown. Like that is the thing. So for you, if okay, cool, I didn't want to put on the big red nose and the Bozo the Clown wig, not the thing that I'm into. I whether or not I find it hot to know about it, whether I find it hot to watch it, whether or not I find it hot to be helping put the Bozo Clown wig on, like I don't again, multitude of possibilities.
Yeah.
It's still at the core of it, you're not a bad person because you're not the one wearing the wig at the end of the day.
Right. Right. And it
So
doesn't make you less
that
valuable.
yeah, like because that birthday party was one night.
Yeah.
You only have a birthday once, right?
Yeah.
So like you should allow yourself to know that that act and that act of doing something isn't a betrayal of the understanding that you have with the person that you're going to be sharing the birthday party with.
Right. This is a brilliant analogy. Like, it's kind of
Thanks.
blowing my mind, actually. Yeah,
But
this is brilliant because it really, I mean, so, God, I can't tell you the number of times, like the amount of people that I work with on
yeah. Hmm.
this idea that, like, if I'm not the one giving my partner something that they desire, am
Hmm.
I lacking? Am I, and now I'm comparing, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
is there something wrong with me, or
Yeah.
should I feel bad? Am I
Absolutely.
inadequate? Like,
Yeah.
there's so
And
many things that go into that.
if I lack compersion, am I bad at polyamory?
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
Let me
Oh no,
tell
no, no.
you, I have spent years on that one.
Hmm.
I am not a
Hmm.
very compersive person.
And that's okay. That is
Exactly.
fine. You can manage that, and also it doesn't make you a bad person.
Yeah,
Like in the same way that like, oh shoot, I am allergic to Bozo the Clown makeup. Like I just physically can't do it. It is
yeah,
not because I personally don't want to. It's that I physically can't.
yeah,
That is the same way for some people. It's like I physically can't be turned into a chandelier, and you want to turn someone into a chandelier,
mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
Suspension, it's a big fad in the local scene, or was, back when the center had, you know, suspension hangings at like every 10 feet.
Yeah.
Um, like looking like the plants in the background there. Just like someone
Little
hung up.
macrame.
Yeah, macrame, just like macrame everywhere. Like you'd walk into the room and it would just be like everyone in this rope, event was being suspended because it's cool. It looks cool. But there are
But
some people who physically can't.
did any of them have light bulbs lit up on them like an actual chandelier?
Uh, so not only have I seen that,
What?
uh,
That's amazing.
oh no, no. Half the reason to do this stuff is to see cool things. Um, yeah, I have also seen someone who got suspended by chain hook, then run up and down the walls like they're Tony Hawk skateboarding.
Uh-huh.
That was in a local bar that which shall not be named right now. So yeah,
Okay.
there are a
Okay.
lot of cool things that exist in the world, and I support everyone trying stuff out.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's the goal. Like if you you have not you have a 9 to 5, you have 8 hours of work, you have 8 hours of sleep, and you have 8 hours to figure out what you want to do with your life. And or you should be arguing that you should have 8 hours to figure that out. And yeah, what you gonna do?
Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
What advice would you give people who want to, like, support or
Mhm.
show appreciation for the things like their partner's kinks, the things that they're into, even if they aren't into it themselves?
Mm. Understanding, learning, like having a language to know what they are into. In the same way that like there are a lot of partners who are into football because their partner is into football. Knowing what a quarterback is, like let's just let's go down this road. The
Yeah,
metaphor of your partner's kink is football, right? Like
okay, yeah.
like
I don't
yeah,
think that's
for
very
some
far off.
yeah, no. I mean, they're dressing up for sure.
Yeah.
That's a fetish, I tell you. Um I am the quarterback. I'm watching this game to be the quarterback.
Mhm.
There's a whole discussion about that we will just let the people who don't want to have it not have it. Anyway, so let's pretend, for the sake of argument, that we are considering football as king, right? American football.
Yeah,
Okay, you learn how to talk to your partner about, oh, this is football. You know just a little bit about it. You don't call it sports ball. You're respectful of it. You're respectful of their time. You're respectful of that they care, and you respect who they are at them. And you check in with them. You set your boundaries and set the boundaries you have in your relationship about, like, I don't want you to fly to the Super Bowl with your friends. I don't want you to spend. I don't want you to gamble on the game. I don't want you to be destructive in if your team loses, you throw something through the wall, right? Like
right.
you want to set relationship boundaries in that sense, right?
Yeah,
So that you know that you're safe as a person. But then, yes, sometimes you are going to be a football widow, in many ways. And this is me being funny at this point, but still. Um, like, okay, cool. They want to go to an away game, right? They want to fly to Kansas City, go to the away game, do all the cool stuff, and then they fly back. And you have that relationship. You've had those check-ins and you say, "How was the event? What do you want to tell me about it? I know just enough to know where I don't want to know about it because I can think that I'm interested." And then all of a sudden he starts talking about the 3-4 defense and I want to get out.
my eyes glaze over.
Yeah. No. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, straight up. Like, but for that, so for a person who in a swinging context or in a polyamorous relationship context, like a closed door policy, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to hear about the relationship, or I do want to hear about the relationship, or I want to go to the game and I want to watch, and I want to watch with you, and I want to go to the barbecue afterwards and talk about the game, the tailgating. I want to do the tailgating and have all the really cool, tasty food, or I just want to say, have a great time, honey. You go do your thing.
yeah.
Like that is a it's not on me to tell you how to feel. It's about me giving you the options of how to figure it out.
Mhm, 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 mhm. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. You're good with analogies.
Yes. What is a man but a miserable pile of secrets, and the secrets are all mysteries and analogies.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Uh,
I do my best. I mean, I've made you laugh before at my jokes. So let's be honest, let's
yes,
be
you
real.
have, yes, you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once or twice.
Once or twice. Once or twice. I might be funny. What can I say? Mm, yeah.
Amazing. Um, I'm curious
Mhm. Mhm.
about I have like 8 questions.
Let's go.
Um, okay, from supporting someone who doesn't have the same kinks as you,
Mhm.
uh, to what What about, like, different levels of experience? Say, like, people get into
Mm.
a relationship and they're like, "I might be into that, I'm not
Mhm.
sure."
Mhm.
How does that work?
So, one of the things I do want to shout out is this is language that we've developed over the last couple of years. Is that sometimes you will be an older person who is in a submissive role, and the
Yeah,
person who is topping you is younger than you.
yeah,
And so emotionally, there's always this situation of like, well, I want you to do this to me, and I want to teach you how to be dominant to me, right?
okay,
And so it's the language of being a patron of the top. So rather
okay,
than a mentor, like a mentor being usually a top who is teaching another top, but a
yeah,
patron who is a submissive teaching the top how to do these things. Um, and doesn't have to be age; it can be like experience, right? But
sure,
usually, age comes with experience. Let's be honest.
right.
And so, but if I am a fresh-faced 21-year-old who wants to spank butts, I go out and I'm open to new experiences, and a 32-year-old woman comes up to me and says, "Oh shoot, I want you to spank my butt. You don't really know what you're doing. How about I patron you so that you figure this out?"
That is that is one I had not ever, come across, so thank you for that.
Fresh. It's fresh.
That's
It's
brilliant.
this is a new hotness. It's all the kids are talking about it. All
Right,
the kids
right.
being me and my friends, but we're figuring it out.
Yeah, it's like, Skibbity something or other.
Yeah, Skibbity toilet. Oh my god,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
I am
exactly that.
surrounded by younger people. I have to figure it out real quick.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. So then that the bottom being a
Mhm.
patron to the top and kind of
Right,
teaching them what to do.
right.
And is that a power dynamic?
It's largely just an education dynamic. Like
Okay.
a lot of this is like it's not that I'm better than you, it's that I just know 5 moves ahead of where you are right now.
Uh-huh.
Like or sometimes it's like you want to do something that is pretty, out there, and we need to get you up there.
Yeah,
We need to get you up to doing the things that you actually want to do. Like this is what it is, this is what it isn't. And some of that is like, okay, so I'm developing, and a lot of it is just be a friendly person because how do I say this? How do I say this? Being new is not a bad thing.
right.
It's and it is just as intimidating to meet someone new when you are established in the scene as when you are fresh.
Sure.
So just being a friend, having a friendly attitude, and being open and learning, because it's me being open to learning from you if you are new to the scene, as you being open and friendly, learning from me who is like hosting an event.
Right.
Like that is it only works because it's a smooth, it's tessellated tiles on a chessboard, right? Like it only works because of straight line.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Okay. Okay.
You know.
Uh, how do you have any like are there any like specific like tools or practices that people use to establish like trust and safety and negotiating
Mm.
how that would work?
Uh so I would say that it's kind of it's like loading a catapult. Um
Okay.
yeah. So no. It's an analogy. It helps people connect to things. Because it's all physics, right?
Yeah.
You have to kind of you figure out, okay, this is the initial condition, right? This is where we're starting. Okay, this is your physical health, this is your physical requirements, and all of that, right? It's like, okay, and then you kind of build up the tension, you build up the momentum, you build up the dynamic that you want to have, and you kind of have that moment of transfer where it kind of begins, right? Where, oh,
Okay.
I put the blindfold on you. That's when the scene begins, right? And then, okay, cool. The scene is now beginning. You're up in the air. Everything's flying, fine. It's flying. You know, nothing bad could ever happen. And then eventually the rock hits the ground, and it's like, okay, cool. You have to come back to Earth. Okay, how do we reestablish who we are as people, the relationship we have? Are you okay? Do you need aftercare? Do you need water? Do you need a hug?
Yeah.
Some people don't. Love them. I can throw you against a wall and you'll be fine in 2 minutes. That's fine. But how do we figure that out and bring that forward?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like the tool sense of it, like the arming your audience with the language they need. It's a lot of it is culture. A lot of it is knowing how to walk into a room. What is a dungeon monitor? How do you ask for time on a piece of furniture? How do you negotiate with someone that you've just met? These are the things I want to have. These are my reds. These are the things that I don't want. These are the things that I do want. How do you begin that? And
Yeah.
then what do you expect will happen in the scene? And how do you ask for aftercare when you might have been on a cross for an hour and you have no language whatsoever after that?
Yeah.
How do you then how do you then be taken care of?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then what do you do after that? Okay, cool. I've spent half an hour in this 2-day event being cuddled. Great, love that. And now I'm going to go back into the world and I'm going to do other stuff.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with me doing this exact same thing, but with someone else? Are you going to have jealousy? Are you going
Mm.
to be okay with that?
So many things.
Oh, th- I,
There's
I, I, I like to have these conversations. Like 90% of what I do is like, hey, have you thought about kink? Hey, are you okay with all the possibilities? Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? Like that is you know, you have to
check,
introduce these
check,
things to
check.
people. Do you know what you're getting into? Because like I'm the front porch for the fetish sort. Like it's a very, I don't know who's coming in, and I have to make sure that they know if they go further into the house, what the heck they're getting into.
Yeah. Yeah. What is a dungeon monitor?
So a dungeon monitor is uh it's slang at this stage because not everywhere is a dungeon.
Sh-
So, but a dungeon monitor is someone who is either a volunteer or a paid staff member who is the person who is the authority for safety, the lifeguard, if you will,
Yeah.
of the situation. They either are directly monitoring a single scene or they're monitoring a couple of scenes or just like the party in general. They're the person to talk to if, oh shit, something fell, someone hurt, there's a fire, all these possibilities. They're the person who is in loco parentis. They are the person you want to talk to because they're the closest sense of authority there is at the time.
Yeah.
And so like go to them, talk to them. They at least know who to talk to. Not every dungeon monitor has the absolute authority to do everything.
Sure.
They're not they're not your boss, but they are the person who is the hub of information for things going up and down the chain.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Somebody is interested
Hmm.
in getting into kink, going to events or parties or
Hmm.
something. How does someone know if they're like, how would they, one, find it, but two, make
Hmm.
sure that it's a safe place or a safe
Great
event?
question. Oh gosh, that's why I run an event. Because I try to demonstrate that.
Yeah.
Uh, one, knowing people, core element, knowing how to go there is knowing someone who is there.
Yeah.
So that going to FetLife is still the closest thing to a Facebook that the kink community has.
Mhm.
Not great. There's a lot of dick pics. FetLife.com, FetLife
Yeah.
.com. It is a website for kinky people to create a profile and then let things happen to that profile. And you can use that to organize events. You can use that to figure out what stuff is happening in your local area. You can figure out who to talk to, or someone will give you a FetLife profile afterwards. Um, and there are various WhatsApp groups, and there are leather clubs up and down the coast and throughout the world, including ones that are dedicated to different life experiences, such as trans inclusive leather, African American leather, all of those places where you can go to, oh, I want to do BDSM in a specific way, to learn the way that leather works, which is, wearing the 70s heavy metal black vest, leather vests, and the like motorcycle boots and all of that,
Uh-huh.
or just like because that's kind of where it all started in a lot of ways. Modern American BDSM comes from, you know, gay men in the post World War II era, kind of bringing back that camaraderie they had, and then
Yeah.
bringing that forward and creating from that both motorcycle gangs and also gay leather culture, and that influenced
Pick one or the other.
one or the other, pick one or the other. And then, of course, because of its popularity, it then came into heavy metal because some of the lead singers of heavy metal bands were gay. And
Yeah.
so, oh, yeah, that's why Queen looked like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so, a lot of the popular culture is, and also then it's like it was rogue and weird. And so people would bring it in fashion and like, oh, they're wearing a lot of leather for fashion purposes, or I'm going to be spooky because I'm wearing leather gear, and so therefore I'm going to be a professional wrestler in leather gear to make you dislike me.
Mhm. Mhm. There's a
So
lot of history there.
a font of history.
Yeah.
Um, Everything has a source. Everything will come from something.
Uh-huh.
So like that's how linear time works. And so, right. Um, and so for us, it's important to know what you're doing and the symbols you're doing so that you know the culture that it's a part of, so that you know how to then express yourself truly and earnestly as who you are. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. If you're doing most gay things are that or things that were gay, right? That we call BDSM now. It's
Right.
good to know the history that it came from and know that they have resources. Like, how do you, as a non monogamous person, right? You want to go from the new relationship energy to a longer term relationship. Well, gay people have been doing that since before the Supreme Court said you can get married.
Right.
How do you make a business LLC so that both partners have an equal ownership of the house? How do
Mm.
you arrange for a funeral? How do you have multiple partnerships in the same house? Like
Yeah.
gay culture has been doing it for a couple more decades and under even more scrutiny than the current non-monogamous people that we know.
Yeah.
And so that is elder information and resources is available if you're interested.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. They they've been paving the way
Yeah, yeah, a lot of
in
ways,
many
a lot of ways.
ways, in many
In
ways.
many ways, weirdly. Yeah. Yeah, because pretty sure one of the village people was a construction worker. So yeah, literally paving the way.
Um, I could probably ask you like a
Mhm,
million other questions, but I
go
let
for it.
me ask you this. What
Mhm.
because I think this is important. What are some like red flags people should look out for if they're new
Mm.
to attending events or joining a new like kink
Ooh.
community?
So 10 years ago, well, about a decade ago, one of the things that was notorious in the scene was what we would call yanks. These were usually men, aggro chauvinist top, who would literally yank on your collar to indicate that they were into you.
Mhm.
So again, bottom up, body out. Someone who doesn't respect your physical body is a caution. Like,
Yeah.
even if they try to excuse it and you try to excuse them for doing it,
Mhm.
that's usually a red flag on the play.
Yeah.
And of course, there are places where that's okay and part of the culture.
Right.
If I go to a bathhouse, it is expected for cruising to occur. But that's part of the warning label on the door, right? Usually, a red flag is I don't respect your bodily autonomy. I want to be able to grab you.
Right.
First, first step. Um, Second one is someone who doesn't know anybody. Um,
Okay.
the someone it is really easy for someone to go like kind of like those fish that grew up in the abyssal dark and they just mutate in weird ways.
Mhm.
Someone who has never checked in and never got called on their shit, they will be having the weirdest things and doing the weirdest things. Being open about what you do and how you do it is the fastest way to make sure you're doing it in a safe way. because
Right.
you will not be able to see. You don't know what the elephant is, right? You don't know the wholeness of what you're doing until you have a third, fourth, fifth pair of eyes on it.
Right.
So yeah, so being involved with people who are involved with other people is a lot safer.
Yeah.
Don't go into the hotel horror shows is a genre of funny stories. They're funny because we survived. Don't do it.
Hotel horror shows.
Hotel horror shows, yeah. Utah, someone was getting tied up in one of the doors, and the door broke, and so they fell on their elbows because of
Oh
that, and
no.
they broke their elbows. So
Oh.
yeah, don't get tied onto a door. Is the thing to learn there. Um, a cabinet door, even it was so stupid. A cabinet door, not even like the bathroom door, like one of the cabinets that like is holding your suit before you go to your convention appearance. Like, yeah,
Oh.
it was the silliest, stupidest thing. Person who shall not be named, was fantastic person, and that was one of those stories that we would tell each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh.
yeah.
Um, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share?
I can go through a thing. First, hey, shout out again to the Lumberyard Bar in White Center. They
Yeah.
are the host of my Kink Night. They have been a fantastic partnership to have. I run a Kink Night every first Thursday. Um,
First
for
Thursday.
first Thursday of every
Okay.
month. It is tasty. It is a free, public, monitored Kink Night that I help run. I am a co-host. I am not the sole proprietor, of course. And I have a group of volunteers who help it run. But going to there is a fantastic place if you want to begin a journey. Again, it's the front porch. It's not going to be amazing. It's going to be a good introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is first thing to do. Not every person who is masculine presenting is a dominant or top. That is a thing to understand.
Mhm.
Uh, and also, you should not only have men or tops as your event leadership. That is a thing that you should probably think about. If a red flag is if everyone who is running the event is exactly clones of each other, have questions.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, why does it seem that they came out of the factory? That seems more culty than I like it. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Really in any community. In
In
any
any community,
community.
yeah. If like uniforms are great and all, but like I'd like to see just a quintilla of diversity of thought there. Just
Yeah.
hey, like you guys talk to each other, right? Like it's not just one voice coming out of the same mouth. Um,
The Borg.
the board, yes, exactly. If the yes, don't go to the Borgie. It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And so that's also like, I also really like the diversity of like, hey, polyamory, swinging, and kink. It could be an exchange of ideas and different ways to think about things because you become better people by doing that. So yeah, I think that this kind of cross pollination is super useful. Um, yeah. Um, yeah, I had a little list here, so I'm just looking at it. Yeah, I would say that for me, how do you manage this is more a question for you. When someone
Okay.
is coming in and asking you about like, okay, we want to open our relationship, that initial moment, I don't see those people at that stage, right? I see people who have already decided to leave the house, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know that. So this is a question for you actually. When you see people who have that moment of like, I want to do this stuff, but I don't know how to leave the shell, as it were. Like,
Mhm.
so for them, what do you think it is that they need to know to feel safe to go do that?
Ooh. God, that's a really good question.
Hmm.
Um, why? They need to know
Hmm.
why. Why is this a
Yeah.
thing? Why is this a desire? What like have some
Hmm.
clarity there,
Hmm.
right? Um,
You're thinking of specific people.
Well, I mean, really, that's all people, but I have a couple comes to mind for me who literally opened up because, like, one of them was got the nerve up to finally tell their
Mhm.
partner after 20 years that they
Mhm.
were very kinky and really had these desires that
Mhm.
were so far
Mhm.
outside of what they had been doing for their 20-year relationship,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
so then the other partner, so the partner who came out was feeling all this guilt and all this like, "Oh my
Mhm.
god, what is wrong with me?" And their other
Mhm.
partner was like, "Well, I really love you. None of these things ever crossed my mind. I don't think I'm
Right.
into them, but, like, let's figure out how you can go get those experiences and
Mhm.
because I love you, I care about you." Right? And so
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
really had to they had to, like, figure out one, they had to work through some of that, like, this is what our relationship has been all this time, and now we're
Mhm.
changing it a bit,
Yeah.
and then figure out, like, is it worth it? Like, what is the why?
Mhm.
What's the what is the drive there?
Mhm.
And really what they for them, they were like it came down to, like, the the non-kinky partner, the more vanilla partner was like, "I love you for who you are, and I want you to have
Mhm. Mhm.
authenticity in your life, and that is really
Yep.
important to me."
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
and so then working through all of that,
Yeah.
and then little baby steps, creeping out the
Yeah.
door and going, "Let's try some things and see what happens and come back together and see how we
Yeah.
feel."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely the cycle going in and out is definitely, like,
Yes.
super critical, super critical. Like,
Yeah.
I am not running a home. I do not know a deck is not a domicile, like,
Yes.
it's just a front porch. I can't pay your
You
taxes
might have
for
a
you.
rocking chair,
You might have a rocking chair. It'll be a
maybe
great
some
time.
lemonade.
Yeah, it'll be a fantastic time for as long as the lemonade is cool,
Yeah,
but, eventually either it's too hot for the lemonade or, it's closing time,
or
and
the
so you
mosquitoes
kinda
start
have
coming
to.
out.
Exactly. You have to then reconnect back to the real world and say, that's what that was for me. This is what this is for me. Where am I now? What have I done? What have I changed? All of that.
Yeah,
So yeah, definitely. I think that anyone who is thinking about coming out, is thinking about trying new stuff, whether it is kinky or polyamory or swinging, what have you. Which swinging is just kinky sex without a lot of the like hangups about it. Like there's no dominance and submissive in swinging, really, as I
right,
understand it.
right.
So, like, it's just, without those hang-ups, but it's still kinky sex. So, like,
Yeah,
yeah, you're doing some stuff here. Let's be honest, let's be real. So,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
it's
But,
true,
yeah.
it's true.
Uh, hey,
It's really I
they
find it very funny because,
mhm,
when I was married monogamously for
mhm,
13 years, did,
yeah,
like, the very normal thing, and then I got divorced,
mhm,
I was like, "I don't wanna be monogamous," and then
mhm,
Rob and I started, like, hanging out with swingers, going to swingers clubs, and people would talk about vanilla people,
yeah,
but I also had always been kinky, and I was like,
mhm,
"Vanilla?" I mean,
mhm,
so, like, the swingers were calling people vanilla who were monogamous, and then the kinky
mhm,
people were calling people vanilla who were not having kinky sex, who were
yeah,
most of the swingers were
yeah, yeah, yeah,
so I
yeah.
was like, it's really fun how the language is
Oh, yeah.
shifts across the board, right? Like a
Yeah,
unicorn in polyamory, that is like
mhm.
this unethical situation where someone isn't treated well. A unicorn in
Oh, yeah.
swinging is like, hell yeah, we're having a threesome, and then a unicorn in kink might be someone into pony play. Like you've got
You
like
are
it's
100% right. You are 100% right. Yeah, it's a genre of pony play.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
where like, there are entire like what kind of flag you are holding will say, I want to be a third in a established relationship, right?
yeah,
Like that exists. It's out there. You can find it yourself. Like
yeah,
what color of bandana you are wearing will tell people what's going on. Um,
yes,
so like for me, it's like a lot of this is just again kind of the abyssal mutations, right? Like if we all came together and figured out our language together, we would
mhm,
have a lot easier way to get people because there are very few people who are 100% swinging, 100% kinky, you know,
yeah,
10% non-monogamous, but 90% monogamous. Like
right,
it's all a spectrum. It's all
yeah,
figuring it out. And so, like, if we all kind of came together and got that language and interchange together, it would be just a lot easier for people to self-express
yeah.
because they don't have that confusion.
Yeah, yeah. Which means we have to keep talking about things because
Wild. Wild.
How else will people know? How else will we have shared language if
Yes,
we're
yes.
all hiding if we're all hiding away on the back porch or in the
Yeah,
closet
on the
or
yeah, yes.
in the bedroom, whatever, right? Like
Yeah,
if we're all
whatever,
hiding
whatever.
away and not talking and having community, then we
Mhm.
won't have a shared language.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the really important thing because also one of the things is like if I've seen you and I've seen you be cool, that means that if I see you at an event, I know at least everything behind you isn't on fire.
Right.
Like, I because again, if you know people, that means that if you go to a place and they're still there, it's a good place. If
Yeah.
they leave, that's a sign for you to leave.
Yeah.
Like that's knowing people who if they leave, you leave is really good. Because you have you know their ethics and their standards, and if they're willing to go further than you would be willing to go, you know that, and then you know the people who aren't willing to go as far as you're willing to go, and they leave because they don't want to see someone do X, Y, Z, then you know based on what you know about them what the temperature of the room is.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. This is so
Oh, no
good.
problem. Yeah, yeah, no, it's a great time. I pitched this to you when I saw you, and I was like, okay, cool. Let's do this. It sounds like a great time. And again, first Thursday of every month, Lumberyard Bar, in White Center. That's the event I co-host. So you could have this conversation again, or personally, or in a parasocial way by listening to me do it to other people. So
I love it. I love it.